What problems have you had with your crops in recent years, and what steps were taken to prevent those problems from reoccurring in years to come?
So, I think about this obsessively all the time. So here in a climate where it's generally very hot and for large parts of the season, it's a semi-arid climate, water stress is a big one, and I would say either diseases, whether fungal or otherwise, from weeds getting away from us are big problems. So we have taken measures like soil moisture monitors to make sure that we're getting adequate moisture to our crops at all times. That's helping. And reducing our overall growing area so that we can better maintain the crops that we do plant with regards to weeding specifically, so that we can stay on top of it and help get a lot more air, oxygen, and water to the plants, and giving it a head start, just giving it a fair shot is our biggest first step.
Cool.
And that's foundational, I think, in the pyramid of plant health. The bottom of it is water and then weeds. And so if you don't get those two right, I'm learning, it doesn't matter about soil fertility or amendments, those come later. They're important, but not as important. So focusing on weeding and watering is the biggest challenge here in our really hot climate with really well draining sandy soils.
Okay, cool. Now, Alyssa had mentioned you guys have had issues with pests as far as in the ground eating the crops.
That's right. So while we do have our share of insect pests, they, when compared to the mammals, are insignificant.
The ground squirrels.
Particularly ground squirrels, gophers, jackrabbits, and cottontails. Those are our biggest problems.
No problem with deer?
Deer, we have a large 8-foot deer fence surrounding the property, so
Okay.
that takes care of that for us.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, I'll stop it. Do you use natural fertilizers and pesticides, or unnatural fertilizers or pesticides? And what percentage in crop production do you normally see from using them?
Well, so we are certified organic, so that means a particular set of things. Relevant for this question, it means no synthetic inputs, which would, I think, eliminate unnatural fertilizers and pesticides. But natural pesticides and fertilizers, we do. We use, so we are deficient, so we'll go to fertilizers first. Based on the results from soil tests, we are low in a few minerals, namely calcium, sulfur, boron, as well as nitrogen. So
Always nitrogen.
Yeah, always nitrogen.
First one that's depleted.
Yep. And so while we will get a percentage of nitrogen from the mineralization of our organic matter, it isn't enough, we're finding, for the particular needs of a lot of crops. So we use compost for some nitrogen and biological inoculant mostly.
And I just learned you get a lot of it from Sac State, right?
Yeah, Sac State is now, and it's looking pretty good. We would buy some from Recology, which is a company that decomposes the yard wastes that are wheelie bins on the curb that you would put out. Yeah, and sends that back. But Sac State, it's primarily leaves from all the big trees on campus, and it looks pretty good.
From the arboretum that they have there.
Yeah, that's right. So otherwise, we use gypsum, which is a calcium sulfate. So that's for our calcium and sulfur needs. That's a mined material. And feather meal from
feather meal.
Yeah, it's a waste product from poultry industry, and it's organic, and it's just ground chicken feathers.
Okay.
And that makes up the fertilizers, I would say, and boron, which is we use Solubor, which is just a boron-based
Fish emulsion or
fish emulsion too in here.
just with the new starters.
Yeah, and for foliar sprays too. But again, it's an organic waste product from canning and fish industry.
What about for your peach trees? Do you use the copper spray?
So we use lime sulfur this year. Copper sulfate is one we've typically used, and I was worried about our copper toxicity levels in our soil, it being an immobile nutrient. We've used it over the years, and I kind of worry about high copper levels. So we tried the lime sulfur this year, and mixed results. I don't think that's a result of the product necessarily. Yeah, I still have some peach leaf curl.
I think everyone always has peach leaf curl.
Yeah. So pesticides, we generally don't use much. We use primarily exclusion, so we use the row cover to keep pests from being able to access
Right,
plants.
the white cloths you guys have. the rows.
Yep. We've moved on from that for the time being. Just this time of year,
Yeah.
everything gets super
That was
hot
in the
there.
winter. more.
Yep. So for squash bugs and cucumber beetles, we were dipping the tops of our cucurbits at transplant time into a surround. It's a product. It's a kaolin clay.
Okay.
So it's just a clay that we dip it in, hoping that the jagged particle sides will not be so agreeable to the soft bodies of these beetles. Yeah.
And what is it called again? It's
Surround is the name of the product,
Okay.
but any kaolin clay is what we could
Brassica.
use. Yeah, on cucurbits.
cucurbits.
Yep. And we are just trying that this year. We'll see, and we'll probably am expecting to having to go through and add a foliar application in subsequent weeks. And we're trying out Sluggo so we have a really bad slug population and a lot of damage from those guys.
Particularly with what crop? All of them?
Brassicas, mustards.
Darn brassicas.
Yeah. So, but also lettuces too. And I don't know exactly what that is. It's like a iron based. So mine's material. It's not great, but it's working really well. I don't have statistics on whether our damage reduction rates on those. There's anecdotes and visual reinforcement that particularly the Sluggo has worked. We have used BT, Bacillus thuringiensis, for cabbage loopers in the late summer plantings of brassicas. Those guys tend to...
Yeah, we saw the cabbage looper moths out there.
Dang. Well, looks
Darn.
like we got to
Sorry.
get on there. Thanks for scouting. So we've used that, and that tends to work really well too.
Cool.